Hey guys, Dr. Silly Nolar here. Call me Professor today because we're going to do something that I know you guys have asked. It's been about a couple weeks since I asked you guys in one of the LRUI videos, and there was good reception, so I decided let's do it, and here we are. I'm going to be introducing you guys on how the calculations work with Dokkan. Go check out Goresh's video if you're new to Dokkan on how to play the game and all that stuff, but what really drew me to the game was those big attack stat numbers and like big crit numbers and all that stuff. So I always was curious, like you guys, like how did they come up with those numbers? There's got to be some formula, and there is a formula, and we're just gonna get straight into it as soon as we can here. So of course, when everyone starts playing Dokkan, I found this meme pretty accurate. In the beginning, you're just popping bubbles, some kind of puzzle game, whatever. But then you start thinking about, okay, so there's leader skills, there's passive skills, there's links, so there's a proper way to, you know, right there it says, use different items to beat each super battle road and rotations and whatnot. And now, when you get to the math, I hope we get you to that state right there with that SpongeBob. So there is an order of operations of how the numbers are calculated, and I'll take you through all of them. I'll tell you all of them first, and then explain it with an example, and hopefully that becomes a little more clear for you. So we have leader skills. There's two types of leader skills. We've got percentage base, which is what we see nowadays, but back in the day you saw a lot of flat boosts. So I'm talking year one, Strength Gogeta, he gave 3 ki and attack plus 3,000%. Not percent, 3,000. It's pretty crazy. So you take into account the leader skill first, and then you do the passive skills. And there's a whole bunch of stuff in the passive skills. So, you know, attack and defense up 100% on the start of the turn. There's nuking passive, so every orb you take, you gain like 10% attack. There's supports, so if you have like the 50% supports, they get 50%. Let's say AGL Pan for AGL like Super Saiyan, Spirit Bomb Reserve Goku. If she's on rotation, she gives an another 50% attack and defense just by being there. Key meter at a certain amount. This really applies to Int L or Rose, which Global's about to get soon. I think in a week or two. But on JP, it's like the more key meter you have, the more attack you've got. If you're in a specific slot, so World Tournament like AGL Vegito, you know, he dodges a lot in slot 1 or you know, something like that, where you'll get an attack boost if you're in slot 1 or slot 3, or you mitigate damage, all that stuff. That's what that is talking about. Specific amount of orbs selected, so the SGR EZA cell, you know, if you get more than, I think I want to say 6 orbs, you get a certain percentage boost, versus if you only get 3 orbs, you still super attack, but you won't get an extra boost or a huge boost like if you got 6 or more. And then when facing a specific category / name or attacking an enemy of certain typings, that would be like a Wasu, physical Gowasu, Zamasu, you know, boost against extreme type enemies and stuff like that. So that is the passive skills. And then we're moving on, we're talking about items. So if you need to eat an Aider, get that 70% defense boost, this is in the order of operation where you would calculate that. Then you're doing links, but now we're starting off with percent base links. Then we're doing flat boost links, and that includes all the links that give, or that flat boost attack or defense or whatever, regardless if they say, oh, this activates upon super attack, which like Kamehameha, right? It's 2,500 attack. I can't remember the number of attack, but it's like, oh, upon supering, but it doesn't matter. You just add it in here. That's the flat boosts are additive. That's the biggest thing. An active skill buff, which is new as of year 4. You know, like LRB Pan, she gets a 33% attack boost when you activate it. It comes later in the order of operations, which means it really affects the attack stat much more significantly. And then key multiplier. Now, what I mean by key multiplier is when you get key, and at a certain, like 10 key will give you a certain key multiplier for your attack stat, and then when you get 12 key, you know, I'll explain that more when we get into it. And then here's like a bunch of miscellaneous stuff. Build up when performing an attack, receiving an attack on super, attack or super. when attacking an enemy with a certain debuff, certain amount of orbs collected. So like all this kind of conditional things you see is kind of later on in the order of operations here. Support when attacking, that would be strength cumber, you know. So there's some specific like niche things that happen, but when they happen they get calculated 8th or in this order. And then last, you get flat boost on super attack passive. That's again more of an olden day thing. Now we're mostly percentage boost base, but just had to throw that in there just to be sure. And then at the end you have the super attack multiplier, which I will explain at the end. That's kind of just something they throw in. All right, so let's do this as an actual example. So this stuff, like, to me it sounds may sound obvious, may not sound obvious, but I think that's what it is for most of you. But we will actually use an example, okay? So on rotation, we have strength cooler, that's the transforming cooler, strength LR full power Frieza, strength B-Pan with the leader skill being strength cooler. So here's how the context of how we're going to calculate this. Assuming you're linked with strength LR full power Frieza, okay, you're facing one enemy because strength cooler has different conditions when he faces one enemy versus two, and B-Pan has activated her active skill. You know, at the start of the turn, you've activated her active skill, so she gives you that extra boost. What is his strength cooler's final attack stat upon super? Okay, fairly simple, but we'll break it down. So this is strength cooler. This is all the relevant information that you assume he's at rainbowed. Okay, so his attack set is 17,542. His defense is 10,155, and his HP is 17,785. So his leader skill is transformation boost or terrifying conquerors. Key +3, attack and defense 170%. HP is 130. So we're looking strictly at the attack stat. 170% is the leader boost, right? So the first thing you do in the math is you take his actual attack stat from the card, and then you multiply the leader skills in. So take Cooler's attack stat and multiply leader skills. So his attack stat at rainbow is 17,548, and you multiply it by the two leader skills. So that's 170%, right? So you got 1.7 here, 1.7 here, and you're adding another 1 because you want the final number. So this might sound a little weird, or this is a concept you might take you a little bit to understand, but if you just say 170 and 170, like just say one leader skill. Okay, that leader skill is boosting by 170. You can do 170 times 17,548, but that's the addition of what you're doing. To just eliminate that altogether, you just add 1. So 1.7 plus 1.7 plus 1 will give you 4.4. And now his attack stat based on the leader skills is now 77,184.8, but Dokkan rounds down, they never round up. So it's actually just 77,184. Alright, so we keep going with the math. Now the passive skills. So his passive skill is attacking defense 100%. And again, we said he's facing off one enemy. So he gives him transformation boost category allies 2 key and 30% attack and defense, which is himself. He is a transformation boost character, so he's getting an additional 30% attack, and he start of turn he gets 100% attack. So you factor all those things in that list of passive skills a few slides back. You just factor all those in when you multiply it. So he gets 100% attack boost, so we get 1. He gets a 30% support buff to himself, right? So that's 0.3. And again, we are adding the 1 because we're adding to the attack stat and want the final number. And that is now 2.3 when you put all this together. So 77,184 times 2.3 gives you the new attack stat of 177,523. Okay, so we've done the passive skill. Now we're going to do the links. So we said he's linked with LR full power Frieza. We have Most Malevolent, which is 50% attack, and Fierce Battle, which is another 15% attack. So again, you take the last attack stat, which is 177,523, times it by 1. Again, we're adding to the stat. 1 plus the Most Malevolent attack, and then Fierce Battle, so it's another 30% attack overall, so it's 1.3. And so their new final attacks, or new attack stat is 230,779. All right. We're now at putting in active skill. So he himself doesn't have an active skill to, like as a support buff, but we have LRB Pan, as we said in the scenario. So she's giving 33% attack upon activating her active skill. So you add in that active skill, so 1 again, plus the 0.33. You're again, the 1 is because you're adding to the attack stat, 1.33, and now her Strength Cooler's new attack stat is now 306,936. So the next thing we gotta do is talk about key multipliers. So here I'm gonna explain the key multipliers section. On the Dokkan wiki, which is a great resource, you guys should check it out if you have the time. You have a key multiplier for each unit. So it's just every unit has a specific key multiplier, and it's some units might have immense damage, but they have a low key multiplier, so they don't really put out that much damage, or they might do supreme damage, but they have a huge key multiplier. And usually the big units have a 150% or higher key multiplier. Now, this scenario I'm talking about here is if you want to talk about LRs. Oops, go back. Yes. So this is, besides looking up the wiki and them telling you what the key multiplier is, you can actually figure it out if you want to talk about. Let's say you're gonna do an LR, but you got 21 key instead of 24, right? So to find out what the key multiplier at 21 key is, you have to take the 24 key multiplier, which you find on Dokkan Wiki, minus it by the 12 key multiplier, divide that resulting number by 12, multiply it by the amount of key above 12 you want, then add back in the key multiplier. Okay, 12 key multiplier. I know that sounds weird. Let me give you an example here. So let's say LR Goku and Frieza. They have a 24 key multiplier that's 200%, a 12 key multiplier that's 150. So you're like, okay, the 21 key multiplier's got to be somewhere between 150 to 200, right? To calculate what it actually is, and this is the step. So for this example, say we give him 20 key. So in 20 key, you take the 24 key multiplier minus the 12 key multiplier. That gives you 50%. You divide that by 12, which is now 4.1666, forever. Then you multiply it by 8, and in this case, it's because we said a 20 key multiplier. So 20 minus 12 means 8, right? This is the amount of key above 12 to get to 20, so that's 8. So now you're at 33.333. You take that and you add back in the 12 key multiplier, and now your resulting 20 key multiplier is now 183.333%. So going back to our example with Cooler, take his key multiplier, which is 150, and you just straight up multiply by 150. You don't add the 1 here. You just do 1.5. That's it. So his last attack stat was 306,936 times 150, or 1.5. It's now 460,404. Now, last thing we're going to talk about is SA multipliers. Now, this is straight off of Dokkan Wiki. They're talking about SA multipliers, and this is you can see right here. Based on what SA level it is and what their modifier is, will tell you what their SA multiplier is. So for Strength Cooler, we're looking at 10 SA with an immense immense damage multiplier, which is 505. Okay, so let's explain. Like, that makes sense for before we had the potential system, and now we have the potential system. So if you guys don't know, they're in the potential system, at least on the top right, you get that little super attack animation. This is what it is. This is an extension of the multiplier, SA multiplier. So each super attack buff adds a extra 0.05% to the SA multiplier per node. On the free dupe level, there's 6 of them, so you should have at least a 30% increase into the SA multiplier. At Rainbow, you'll have 15 if chosen from the top right star node, so it's 75%. And so you add that on top of the chart that gigantic chart you saw. You know, you find your SA level, and then the damage modifier. You add whatever is the potential system you have onto that. That's what you get. So here, oh yeah, and then last thing, when you have a unit that builds up on the super attack, you would add the value that they increase to their super attack multiplier. So just a standard point I wanted to make sure I get out there. So here at SA10, Strength Kalu does immense damage, so he's got a 505% SA multiplier. But then he's rainbowed in this specific scenario, so he gets another 75% on top of that. So you just straight up add the 505 plus the 75, and again, you don't add the 1 here because the key multiplier and the SA multiplier aren't buffing the attack stat. You know what I mean? That's why you add the 1. Here, you're just strictly multiplying it out because that's what the order of operations of how they operate. So 460,000 times 404 times 5.8 gives you a final attack stat of 2.670343 million. That's what he gets. So like when you see him start to launch that super attack and you look at up the top left, that's the number you're seeing, and that's how we got here. In this specific scenario, again, if you had someone who links better, if you had more support or different support like this, the numbers all change, and all you have to do is just plug those numbers into the order of operations, and boom, that's what you get. So yeah, that's the final attack stat here. Hopefully this wasn't too in depth, but I figured this might help a little bit explain some stuff. I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions. I get it. I'm getting back to this. I wanted to make this final note that even though calculations are really good because it helps you to really understand what a unit can do, it's not the end-all be-all, because actually playing with the unit in different scenarios, sometimes you put in the calculations, you just have the most outrageous scenarios, like, oh, I'm gonna get 15 key every time. It's not gonna happen. You know, when you actually play with it, you get a feel for how the unit operates. But at the very least, calculations will give you an outlook, an outline of how good a unit can be, not necessarily how good a unit actually is. So yeah, hopefully you guys get down there and you realize the math, and you're just, you know, the smartest person and can figure everything out. But if you don't care too much and you just want to keep popping bubbles, by all means, man, that's whatever makes you happy and whatever makes you have fun in this game. That's what matters in the end. So these are the resources I've used for trying to figure all this stuff out. And so I've linked them here. I'm going to put this PowerPoint, it was basically a slide or PowerPoint, in the description below, so you guys can like rummage through it yourself and hopefully you know, get some understanding out of it. And I don't have too many glaring errors. I hope I don't. And yeah, definitely, I'm sure there's a lot of questions. I was gonna give you guys homework, but you know, this is I'm not a real professor. I'm not getting paid for this, so I'm good without giving you guys homework. But leave a comment about anything, any questions. Did you like this kind of series? I might just continue to do something along these lines. There's definitely more complex math behind it that I didn't want to get to right from the get-go. I thought a nice little introductory lecture would be nice for everyone here. If you like the video, hit that like button. If you're new here and think my content is good and want to continue to watch it, hit that subscribe button. And as of that, Professor Dr. Silly Nolar is out, guys. I'll catch y'all next time.